Hey, welcome to FunNGun. Got another cool Mauser rimfire pistol to show you today. But before we get to that, I want to say up front right here that none of the firearms in this video, none of the accessories in this video are for sale. None of the links in this video, none of the codes in this video have anything to do with firearm sales whatsoever. This video is intended for educational purposes only. Therefore, any pricing mentioned in this video is educational only because absolutely nothing in this video is for sale. Now that we got that out of the way, I want to say a big thanks to Sealy Optics for bringing me on as an affiliate of their brand. If you're looking for a good red dot sight, it's not going to break the bank. You can go ahead and use the link in the description below there to go ahead and check out their website there. And then use code FunNGun to check out to get 10% off nearly everything on there. Also want to say a big thanks to Blue Line Solutions, which is the importer of the Mauser rimfire line of pistols and rifles, for going ahead and letting me check out the Mauser M20 SD here. And the SD version is the version with the threaded barrel, as you will see here in a second. So what we're going to go ahead and do here is go over what the gun comes with. We'll go over some of the features of the gun, some of the stuff I do to go ahead and get the gun up and running a little bit quicker without having to spend as many rounds breaking it in. That goes for any rimfire. I do the same kind of thing with a lot of them. And then we'll also get into the ammo testing, suppressor ammo testing. We'll come back and go over the results of the ammo test, and then we'll go ahead and finish off the video after that. So let's go ahead and get into this here. So first off, you are going to get this plastic case here, hard case with the Mauser logo embroidered into it there, or kind of molded into it at least there. And on the inside, you're obviously going to get the gun here. We're going to go ahead and start off by showing you that there is nothing in the chamber there. There is nothing in the magazine. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's go ahead and go over what is in the case. Second thing you're going to get here is this little card that comes hooked onto the trigger guard, talking about this being a CNC machined aluminum alloy slide. And it is made in Germany because these are made by GSG for Mauser. And the reason this is important is because the CNC aluminum slide is what kind of makes this different from the older Sig Mosquitoes and the actual GSG Fireflies, the original ones. The CNC slide makes these guns a lot more precise and actually makes them run a lot better, as you will see here later in the video when we start testing ammo with this particular gun. So underneath this little flap right here, you're going to get a Mauser rimfire poster here. It's going to have a lot of their products on it, so it's kind of a product advertisement there. You're also going to have the factory barrel nut, which actually comes installed on the gun, but I have a different one on there where we can shoot it. Or we have a half a 28 adapter on there where we can shoot a suppress that you will see here in a second. You are also going to get a tool to take that nut off of the front of the barrel there. You get a chamber flag and another recoil spring. I did install this into the gun. It does feel identical to the one in it, so I'm guessing that's just an extra one there. You're going to get a dummy round and multiple different front sights so you can adjust this particular gun for elevation with those actual sights there. And you got the set screws for them and the tool to install them. And then you have a little kind of key right here, and that is going to be your actual lawyer lock, because this gun does have an internal locking mechanism that I will show you later in the video that allows you to lock up the mechanism to keep it from firing. You're also going to get the owner's manual and a Mauser sticker in there. So that is everything that comes in the box. So let's go ahead and bring the gun back up onto the table here. And we're going to go ahead and start off with the magazine, because this is the new 13 round magazine for the M20 here. And these actually haven't been out very long. And they're actually currently not on the Mauser website, but if you want to pick one of these up, you can hit them up and get the magazines from them actually direct. And that is something that's new, because these guns usually used to ship with a 10 round magazine. And that is the same magazines that have been with all of the different guns that took these magazines. Like I said earlier, the Sig Mosquito and the GSG Firefly, they all had 10 rounds. But the new M20s are going to be 13 round magazines. And we'll go ahead and go over some of the difference in these magazines as well. And the cool thing is obviously the older 10 round mags still fit in these guns. And the cool thing about that is these magazines are pretty relatively available right now. So if you pick one of these guns up and if you want a few more magazines real quick, you can always grab a few of these like I have done here. And you can also get extensions for these to make them 16 round magazines. And I have no idea how that runs because I've never tried it, but that is an option with the 10 round mags if you find one of those. So the real differences here is well, as you can see there, 10 round mag is going to be relatively flush with the bottom. And the 13 round mag is going to be about double the thickness of the standard 10 round magazine there, or the older 10 round magazine. And then the channel on the side is going to be cut farther down, and you have a different tab. And I will say the 10 round one is definitely easier to pull down on to load. This one is pretty difficult, and that is why I went ahead and made myself a loading tool. So first tip here is going to be make yourself a loading tool, or just pick you up a 3D printed loading tool that's going to be made for the M20 or the Firefly, any of them you can find is going to work with these particular magazines as well. And the reason you want that is so you can go ahead and easily take the tension off the spring to put rounds in there. Another tip with these is to go ahead and just sit there and kind of just hang out and watch some TV and do this right here quite a few times. And what you're doing there is your little tab right here is going to rub on the actual body a little bit, and doing that quite a bit is going to go ahead and help you break in the magazine a little bit, and that's going to kind of just speed up the process. So when you're shooting the gun, it's already smoother than it would be without having to fire a ton of rounds through it. One more thing I noticed about these magazines, I'll go ahead and insert a picture off to the side of the jam that I was getting after shooting these magazines quite a bit, and that's after this part of the magazine right here kind of opens up a little bit because the round actually does ride up these ramps into the chamber. And easy fix that is you're just going to take yourself a set of pliers. Now you don't want to just crank down on these, you're just looking to tighten them back up a little bit. You're going to go ahead and pull your follower to the bottom, take a pair of pliers, come in about right there on the magazine as you can see, and just give it a little bit more tension right there. Like I said, you don't want to get too carried away with it. You're just looking to go ahead and get a little more tension on that, so that way the round will not actually get jammed in between the feed lips right there, and it goes ahead and pops into the chamber. That's just something I noticed after shooting these mags quite a bit. That part really did loosen up a little bit. So if you start getting that issue, just go ahead and easily squeeze that in a little bit. Like I said, don't get carried away on it, but that is going to help fix that issue right there. And that's something I've done on multiple different magazines. So I kind of knew what was up when I went ahead and seen that happen. So that's going to be the magazines. Like I said, new 13-round magazine. That is something cool that they come out with here recently. So let's go ahead and talk about the gun here. We'll go ahead and start off on the bottom. And this is the lawyer lock hole I was talking about before that little key goes into. You go ahead and turn that right there, and that's going to lock up the action on the gun. And something else that kind of locks up the action on this gun. Now, this is one of only a handful of gripes I have with this gun. It's actually a really nice gun, but as you can see here, trigger will not pull. That is regardless of where the safety is at. It will not pull either way. Safety is off, still won't pull. And that is because this gun has a magazine disconnect in it. And I don't really prefer a magazine disconnect. And before you freak out for me dry firing this gun with the safety on, it is a firing pin block safety. So it prevents the firing pin from being smacked. So it does not actually put any, it doesn't smack the firing pin into the chamber at all. So you can dry fire this without hurting it, at least a little bit there. But that's really one of my only complaints is I've never been a big fan of a magazine disconnect for a few reasons. Let's say you got a round stuck in the chamber for some reason, you know, you've shot it a bunch, it's getting dirty, and you want to go ahead and clear the gun. You got to either shoot whatever's left in the magazine, unload whatever's left in the magazine, stick it in there and fire that one round out, because you are not able to do that the way it is. So not a huge deal, just something I do not prefer. So it's going to bring us over here. You do just have a standard mag well, not a big deal. This is not a competition style pistol. It is just a fun gun, and it is easy enough to go ahead and get the magazines into the bottom of it either way. It's going to bring us up to the grips here, and I think these grips look pretty cool here. You do have pretty decent texture on all of the parts that are textured, and the fact that this part is not textured is not a big deal because this is stepped like it is, so that actually acts as a texture in itself and actually goes ahead and helps it lock into your hands a little bit better. You also have a little bit of checkering on the front of the mag well there, or the grip as well. So overall, the grip is actually pretty nice on this particular gun. Now I will say, I have smaller hands. If anybody's been around the channel for a while, you know that. And that is, I can actually wrap my hand all the way around and touch my thumb to my middle finger there. And my hand fits this well. So if you have super huge hands, this might not be the best thing for you, but this is definitely going to be an awesome gun to train kids or just new shooters on, because it has absolutely no recoil. It has a nice grip angle and everything, and it's going to fit your hand nicely if you have smaller hands like I said there. So that is a cool thing about that. And you can also pick up different grips for this particular gun, which is something that's cool because it is a set of screw-on panels. I have seen a set of wood grips out there. The set of wood grips is pretty crazy expensive because they are not made by Mauser or any of the other brands. They're an aftermarket company. What I think would be cool if somebody made some G10s. I just think that would make this tactical looking setup here look even cooler. Haven't been able to find any of those yet, but there is a variety of different grips out there available for this gun. It's going to go ahead and move us to the magazine release here. Nothing really to write home about here. It works as it should. Kind of gets up a little bit higher than the grip there, so you're not struggling to press it. Nice and smooth. large button overall. It's got some grip texture on it there, so overall magazine release works very well. Let's go ahead and talk about the slide release here. It is nice and large, and it is also very easy to do. This gun does lock open with pretty much all the ammo I've tried except some of these subs, so it does lock open pretty reliable there. So that is your slide release. Let's go ahead and talk about the safety here. It is a frame mounted safety. It's nice and stiff, so you're not going to accidentally have that flip on and off when you don't want it to, and it is ambidextrous as well. And you have a little red dot there signifying that the gun is ready to fire, so that is the up position. So if you're ready to shoot this gun, you just kind of come up here with your thumb, flip it up, and when you're done, you flip it back down. So not the most practical place for the magazine release, but it's not bad either, and it is relatively smooth there. And that's going to bring us to the decocker right here, and I'm going to go ahead and insert a clip of me showing you how this works with a live fire set up here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, I want to go ahead and show you how the decocker works here. As you can see there, the hammer is back, the trigger is in single action, the safety is off. So let's go ahead and flip our decocker there. The gun obviously did not go off there. As you can see, the trigger is back in double action and the hammer is down. So let's go ahead and shoot the gun. The first pull is going to be double action. And once you go ahead and get the double action pull out of the way, it goes back to single action and functions as normal. Let's head back into the table now. Okay, so as you can see there, the decocker here is pretty simple to use. You just go ahead and flick that lever down, and it is going to go ahead and bring the hammer forward and reset the gun into double action. And that is if you wanted to carry this particular gun in the ready to go position with it pretty well. I guess you got a hot chamber, safety off, and the hammer in the middle position right here where it's not able to smack forward and fire. And you got the double action pull, and that is going to be your safety at that point. Or if you wanted to carry this gun cocked and locked, that is also an option. Now, I'm not an advocate of carrying a 22. It is better than a sharp stick by all means of the idea there. But I do prefer something that is not rim fire. It's not to say that 22 wouldn't go ahead and take a person down, but I prefer something that is not rim fire, just the whole idea that rimfire rounds, if they're not sealed up properly around the bullet and stuff, you can get a lot more moisture in there and this stuff. And I prefer something that's going to be a little bit more reliable ignition system, I guess, what I'm going after. That's not to say there's not ammo out there. You can use that. It's just not my thing. So let's go ahead and talk about the takedown lever here. And I will say another tip there. I've just been using the base of one of these magazines to go ahead and push that lever around because it is extremely tight, which is a good thing because that just means the overall slide fitment and everything's going to stay tighter. Now we're going to take the slide off, but to do so, you're going to pull back, lift up, and the whole front's going to come off, which I can't currently do because I have this 1/2x28 adapter that we'll get to in just a second on the front there. So I'm going to go ahead and push this lever back just so I don't forget about it. Now I will say, you might be tempted to use that as a thumb ledge, which you kind of can as long as you keep it right on top of the pin there. And the reason being is because the first movement of the travel of the lever is extremely light and it hits about right there. And that's where it gets tight. So got to be careful riding your thumb on it because you can't flip the lever there. So let's go ahead and go to the top of the gun here and we will talk about the sights. I did mention that you have a variety of front sights in the box there, and that's going to allow you to go ahead and change the front sight out to adjust for elevation, and then for windage you do have an adjustable rear sight right here. And these are 3-dot gallows sights, and they're nice and bright and they get the job done just fine there. Now another tip that I went ahead and did to this particular gun is I pretty well just sit around watching TV without the magazine in the gun, just sit there and work the slide back and forth just an absolute ton of times. After I did that for a while, I went ahead and took some toothpaste and a little bit of gun oil. And you don't want to get carried away with this on this. You just kind of want to look at some of the places on the slide after sitting there working it where it's starting to get kind of wore in a little bit. Put a little bit of this on there and work it a little bit, and that's going to go ahead and help you break this in a little bit quicker without having to shoot just an absolute ton of rounds. Now that's something, if you want to just shoot a ton of rounds, it's eventually going to do it itself. I just went ahead and did that to speed up the process a little bit, and then you're going to have to be really certain that you clean all of the toothpaste back out of there because that's going to be gritty and gummy, and it's going to slow down this slide and make the gun not function properly. So once you do that and get everything cleaned out, the slide is going to be extremely smooth, and you're not literally looking to remove any material there, just kind of help go ahead and get the high spots on the finish off so the rails can go ahead and smooth out a little bit, and that just speeds up your break-in process, like I said there. And on the front here, like I mentioned earlier, I do have a 1/2x28 adapter where you can shoot this gun suppressed. Now, This is not something that Mauser currently has. I believe this is something they're looking to get in. But since the DS model is a newer model to their line, they haven't got these in yet. But you can pick a set of these up off of eBay for around 20 beans for 2 of them. I don't know why you need 2 of them, but that's how they sell them. So you get 2 of them. So let's go ahead and go back down here and talk about the trigger real quick. I'm going to have to bring back in a magazine here because of the magazine disconnect. Going to have a little bit of false take up right there, and that is going to set the trigger. And you're going to have a little bit more take up, and you're going to hit a wall right there. And just go ahead and push a little bit more through it right there, and it's going to go ahead and break. And I'll put the trigger weight off to the side. It's not a bad trigger weight for the single action there. I believe it was actually sub 3 pounds, or right around 3 pounds, not too bad. Double action, on the other hand, I believe it was around 10 pounds. Actually, I was getting around 10 to 11 pounds, so pretty smooth, but a little bit heavy. But the high majority of the time, you are going to be shooting this gun in single action anyway. So that is pretty much the entire gun. Now let's go ahead and head off the ammo testing portion of this video now. Okay, let's go ahead and do some ammo testing with the M20 here. The way we're going to go about this is the way I usually do it. I have multiple magazines with 2 different types of ammo each loaded into them. There is 5 rounds of one ammo and then 5 rounds of another ammo. I'm going to fire the first 5 rounds, pause, and then fire the next 5 rounds. And so you know what I'm actually shooting at that particular time. I will go ahead and put a picture off of the side here with the specs of the ammo and what ammo I am shooting at that time. So let's go ahead and do some ammo testing here. Okay, now that we went ahead and tested quite a few high velocity rounds in this gun, let's go ahead and put my suppressor on the end of it here, and we'll come back and test some standard velocity and suppressor ammo after that. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, I went ahead and put my Science switch back on the end of the M20 here, so we can go ahead and do a little bit of standard velocity and suppressor ammo testing. The way we're going to do this is we're just going to go ahead and shoot 5 rounds off into the woods of each round to give you a good idea of what this gun sounds like suppressed. And you're also going to be getting the audio from this little lapel mic right here, so you get a good idea of what it would sound like from the shooter's perspective as well. And if you pay attention to the ammo being shot off to the side there, each velocity is going to progressively get slower as I go through the different rounds. So the last one should be the quietest. So let's go ahead and shoot the M20 suppressed here. And as you can see there, the M20 cycles suppressed quite well. And I did forget to take my hearing protection out, but this gun is perfectly hearing safe with all the different rounds we fired there as well. So let's go ahead and head back in the table and go over the results from the ammo test now. Okay, now that we're finished with the ammo test there, we're gonna go ahead and go over the results. But before we do that, I wanna go ahead and say a few things here that kind of skew the results here. Is the fact that I do have this gun well broken in. I did the process that I mentioned earlier in the video where I went ahead and made sure I had it well broken in, just kind of sitting there working it in, and then I have shot this gun a absolute ton. So this gun has quite a few rounds through it, and that could lead to some of the results of this ammo working in my gun. If you pick one of these up, it may not work in yours immediately because you need to make sure that your gun is broken in well. So we're gonna go ahead and start off on the right side here with the ammo. I don't really recommend the 38 grain Aguila Super Extra hollow points here. Had quite a few jams with this off of the camera there, even though it showed that it did run in the testing there. And it also goes for the Federal Auto Match here. Used to love this stuff, but I've had quite a few issues with it here in the recent years of trying to use it in different stuff. And not 100% sure what happened here, but the standard velocity from Aguila and CCI both ran in the testing there, but I cannot at all get them to run afterwards. I'm talking it makes the gun into a bolt action, so can't recommend either one of those. Even with the suppressor on there, the gun will not cycle them. Don't know how I got through the magazines with that in the video there. And that's going to bring us to this line right here, which is going to be the ammo that the gun will cycle suppress, which is going to be the Gemtech here, the American Eagle. They're both suppressor rounds with heavier bullets, as you seen there a second ago, and then the 40 grain standard velocity from Arms Corps right there also ran with this gun suppressed just fine. So if you're going to shoot suppressed, those are some that I have tested that work. It's going to bring us to this section right here. This is going to be your bulk ammo section. And I'll go ahead and say that I shot more of these two and the Aguila than the rest of them here. These two did perform very well in this gun. The Aguila did as well. This stuff stinks and it makes the gun a mess, so I would pick one of these two over that one if I had to choose one. And it's going to bring us to the golden bullets here. A lot of people hate on the golden bullets, even being a 36 grain hollow point. I've had very good luck out of that in quite a few guns, so I will say give that a try. Winchester target here, I also had pretty good luck out of that. So it kind of falls into the same category as these two. They are essentially the exact same specs. All of them are 1,255 feet per second, with the only difference in the Wildcat being it has a different plating on the bullet. It is copper plated, and these are black copper plated, so they're essentially the same idea there. And then the Hertz here is a 36 grain hollow point with more of a cone-shaped bullet. They actually ran fine in this gun, but I don't usually recommend them because I have had quite a few issues with those, and you can only pick them up at Bass Pro or Cabela's. And that's going to bring us to the gold standard here, which is going to be with pretty much any 22. If it won't run mini mags, I don't know what you're doing there. And Blazer is essentially the same thing as a mini mag spec-wise, other than this has the copper plating on it. It's going to be a little bit cleaner and probably a little bit smoother in the feeding department as well. But I do shoot a ton of this Blazer. That is my go-to. And I didn't have any issues out of the Federal 40 grain. And these are all three obviously owned by the same people, so they're all made to the same quality level there. And they all run in pretty much anything I've tried so far. So that's going to be your gold standard, your bulk, suppressed ammo, and just what I say stay away from with this particular gun. So got to say, you pick one of these M22s up, make sure you break it in good and pick you up some extra magazines. You're going to have an absolute blast with it, and that's all I had for you today. Okay, if you made it this far, I just want to say thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. If you're looking for more FunNGun right now, you can click one of the two recommended videos there. If you're looking for more FunNGun later, you can go ahead and click that there subscribe button. I sure would appreciate it. And if you're finding me from Facebook, go ahead and click that open app button at the top to make all that a lot easier, and I'll see you next time.